Hello everyone, and today we will be talking about spinal cord disease. We have discussed about the spinal cord yesterday, the basics of the spinal cord, and today we will be discussing few topic which will be a bit higher side. They will be of a conceptual basis, and they are quite of MD level. So I will make sure that I can simplify it as much as I can, so that even MBBS student could understand this. Okay, and yes, we will continue with the spinal cord disease. Here we go. So now, when it comes to a large fiber, we have a small fiber, we have a small large fiber disease, we have a small fiber disease. Now, when it comes to a large fiber, so we have certain positive symptom and we have a negative symptom, of which we have a positive symptom, that is a numbness and a tingling sensation which will be present. Okay, and if it is an why am I discussing this? Because the patient will be coming with this complaint saying that the patient will be having a back pain, he will be having a tingling sensation, he will be having a numbness, he can have all of those symptoms. Okay, so you should be having some or the other idea. I will be making a video on peripheral neuropathy as well, but just a brief idea on what is a small fiber, what is a large fiber. Okay, so when it comes to a small fiber, so there would be a positive symptom and negative symptom, and there would be also a autonomic dysfunction, that would be orthostatic hypotension, tachycardia, bradycardia, or any of the gustatory sweating like that. Okay, so if there is a burning sensation, burning paresthesia, or there will be burns, or there will be a non-healing ulcer, so that could be one of the positive symptom is burning paresthesia in a small fiber, and a negative symptom is the burns, non-healing ulcers. Okay. Then, if it is a, we say a patient has a bilateral symmetrical numbness in a lower limb. Okay. So, if the entire lower limbs have been involved up to the hip, that then we can just grossly say that the level is above the L1. Now remember, when it is a spinal cord disease, we have a level to understand. Now this is very important because that this will make us a localization very easy, and on the MRI we can catch the disease. Okay. Now, if say the patient has a clear cut level, so that means that there would be certain compression which would be there. That can be because of malignancy, because of any bony deformity, because of n number of diseases. Okay, tuberculosis like that. Okay, so if there is a clear cut sensory level, okay, so there will be a sensory level, there will be a bladder level, there will be a reflex level. Okay, so you have to understand the disease in these terms. Okay, so there is a level. Now if there is a, say there is an entire lower limb, there is a weakness which would be there, so it is up to the hip, you have the numbness, we have the tingling sensation like that. So grossly could say that it is above the L1. Okay, somewhere the lesion is above the L1. You could say that. Okay. So now, if you say that there is this posterior column and there is a lateral column. Okay, you have been knowing this. There is a posterior column and there is a lateral column. Now, if you say there is this lateral column, there would be a different type of sensation or different type of pain which would be appreciated whenever a lateral column is involved, whenever a posterior column is involved. For instance, if there is a posterior column which will be involved, so there is this burning, there will be a band like sensation. Okay, a clear cut band like sensation. He will be saying like there is a there is this 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter band, like I am feeling there is certain something is strapped around like that. Okay, so that is the circumferential posterior column tightening sensation, band like sensation, which will be appreciated. Now if you say there is this bilateral lower limb weakness, that would be mostly symmetrical numbness in the lower limb. You have a sensory level in the leg which starts above the, somewhere above the elbow, that is a gross level. Okay, I hope I'm making it very clear. I'm going very slow. Now there are certain components of the spinal cord. There is a root pain, there is a back pain, there is a tract pain, there is a neurogenic claudication. There are different types of pain. Okay, you just know the pain sensitive structure. Grossly, there is a periosteum, there is a disc, there is a dura, there is an extradural vessels also. Now, whenever there is this is something which is a disc. Okay, Okay, and on that disc we have another disc. Okay, so if there is any disc collapse, okay, what happens is this nucleus pulposus, it just goes over the annulus fibrosus, and this will create a pain. Okay, so if I'm talking about a back pain, it could be a musculoskeletal pain also, that can be because of malignancy, that can be because of paraspinal muscle spasm, that can be because of osteomyelitis, that could be because of herpes. So these are the four things that are important to us. If it comes to musculoskeletal pain, there is no radiation of the pain. Remember that. So the patient, when we are making a patient do a squatting position, or we are asking any bending forward, or any leaning forward, or any of the pain which is towards one of the dermatome. Okay, we have dermatomes on our body, right? So it is a radiating pain. Okay, so he would, wince through the pain. Okay, he will say that the pain is going to so and so area. But when it comes to musculoskeletal pain, there is no such increase in the uh, pain or something like that. Malignancy and osteomyelitis, this is a very important thing, because there will be a nocturnal awakening, pain on lying, and there can be a constitution symptoms also. Okay, so when it comes to posterior column, we have a band-like sensation. We have already discussed this, and there could be a funicular pain in case of the lateral column. When it comes to funicular pain, there is a lack of localization. That means you cannot say this is the area. Okay, this is the area. You cannot say this is the area, because this area would be actually, he will say that there is a pain over one area, two area, three area. Okay, you cannot clear cutly have a level. So there is this away from the lesion. Okay, less localization, ill-defined pain, circumferential pain. When it comes to a neurological claudication, there would be a compression of the spinal cord. So we have a difference between a vascular claudication and a neurogenic claudication. When it comes to neurogenic claudication, there is a back pain which will be seen in a neurogenic claudication rather than a vascular claudication. In a vascular claudication, what happens is there is a crampy pain over the calf, mostly the calf. And after walking certain distance, the pain increases. But when it comes to a neurogenic claudication, now you only imagine that this is a spine, okay, and these are the vertebrae, okay. So if say the patient is, say he is bended, okay, then what will happen, there will be the area between the two vertebrae would be increasing. So whatever the nerves are there, there won't be any compressed, so he would be relieved with the pain. So on bending forward, on leaning forward, or say while bicycling, he will say that pain is decreased. But when it comes to erect posture, the pain will be there, right? So this is something which is expected. Okay, now there will be weakness which would be there in case of a neurogenic claudication. Another thing is motor weakness, areflexia, element wasting, sensory involvement, bladder involvement. This is all seen in case of neurogenic. Vascular, we do not see that. Okay. So we will be seeing extramedullary, intramedullary. Intramedullary means inside the medulla. We have already seen the diagram, right? This is the medulla, central canal. So this is the intramedullary, whatever. We have the CTLS in case of the posterior one, and CTLS and other things, right? We have seen that in the last video as itself. So when it comes to compressive and a non-compressive myelopathy, this is very important, because this could be a long case in a final MD exam, and in even in the MBBS exam, you could be asked this question. Okay, so if it is a compressive myelopathy, you would be having a bony deformity, there will be a bony tenderness, there will be a girdle-like sensation, there will be a clear-cut upper level of sensory loss, and there will be a zone of hyperesthesia as well. There will be a root pain, and onset will be a gradual one. Okay, there will be asymmetrical involvement, okay, and there would be flexor spasm. Pattern of neurodeficient, there is an Elsbach phenomenon, which is like if there is a right upper arm involvement, then there will be a right lower limb involvement, then there will be a left lower limb involvement, then there will be a left upper limb involvement, like that. So that is an Elsbach phenomenon. We say U-shaped involvement. Ball bladder involvement is late, okay. And when it comes to non-compressive, remember trauma is a electric shock like injury, okay. That is a non-compressive one. So it would be acute onset. So one of the thing is a transverse myelitis. Okay, so that would be acutely involvement of bowel and bladder involvement. Then it will be symmetrical, more of a kind, and usually there would be the plexospasm or absent. They are symmetrical, and mostly it is an acute one. Okay, and the other features like bone deformity, bony tenderness, girdle like sensation, zone of hyperesthesia, then the root pain, upper level of sensory loss, this is all not present. Okay, extramedullary, intramedullary. In the extramedullary you will be having a vertebral pain, a root pain. When it comes to a intramedullary, it is more of a funicular pain. Okay, it is a ascending pain, this is a descending pain, and there are certain characteristics of intramedullary pain, that is a dissociative sensory loss. Okay, early involvement of anterior anterolateral column and the posterior column is not involved like that, so there will be a dissociation. Then suspended pattern and Charcot joint, burns, and UMN pattern. This is something which is the there in case of intramedullary. Okay, so spinal cord localization, as we have already discussed, motor level should be addressed, sensory level, reflex level, bladder level. Most important is the reflex level. Okay, this should be very important. This is very important. Reflex level can help us to, like, I mean, it is very important because if you get a reflex level, say at the level of L3, that is the knee, okay, jerk. So it means there would be a level, it will be L3, around the L3 only. Okay, so just we'll look at the cervical levels, the thoracic levels, lumbar levels, like that. C1, C2, C3, trapezius and sternocleidomastoid. Now this is not very in detail. In if you want a detailed discussion, Harrison would be a good thing. Ballour is one of the thing there where they have classically had this C1, C2 and lumbar, thoracic. Okay, the levels have been very well made understood. Then we have C3, C4, C5 diaphragmatic palsy would be expected in such patients. C5, C6 biceps, brachioradialis, deltoid. C6, C7 triceps, finger flexion will be affected. Okay. Now, so one of the thing is the if the cervical level is involved, then what to expect? So first is the neck pain. Okay, movement would be affected. Then is the Ehrlich pattern, Ehrlich phenomenon. We have already said what is the Ehrlich phenomenon. Hemiplegia cruciate. That means there is this decussation which will be there. So if it is a right upper limb and left upper limb, right lower limb, left lower limb. So there will be this if there is a decussation, say, okay. So now the upper fibers decussate at a higher level than the lower fibers, like that. Okay. So this is the Ehrlich pattern, and the hemiplegia cruciate is seen in the cervical levels. Then if it is a say a thoracic level, so we have T1 to T6, so splanchnic nerves and the autonomic dysfunction would be appreciated in this because the splanchnic nerves and cardiac vessels are splanchnic vessels and cardiac vessels are there, so autonomic dysfunction is there. Then the next thing is say if the level is at the T10, divorce sign would be expected in this. Okay, T12 abdominal reflexes is intact. When it comes to lumbar level, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5 and S1. S1 plantar reflex, L1 hip reflection, L2 hip adduction, sorry, knee extension, L3. Then L4 ankle jerk should be exaggerated, L5 hip abduction. So epiconus, conus, chorda equina we have already discussed. L4, L5, S1, S2 epiconus. Conus is something which is the S3, S4, S5 coccyx. Chorda equina below the L1, everything will be affected. So likewise, if it is an epiconus, L4, L5, S1, S2, what is the motor level? What is the reflex level? What is the sensory level? What is the bladder level? Okay. So if it is a L4, what will be affected? If it is L5, what will be there? So you should be understanding that. Okay. So mostly it is the bladder is the UMN only, except in case of a conus. Conus is the S3, S4 and S5 and coccyx. That is at the level it is affected. If it will be at the level of the lesion, it is an LMN. Below the level of the lesion is just a UMN. So it is a LMN bladder which will be there. Saddle anesthesia as the sensory level. Reflexes, anal and bulbocavernous reflex, and motor, there is no weakness. Now this is important, okay? Remember that. Just apply your common sense, you would be coming to the answers. Okay, so there are certain patterns. Complete transaction of the cord. Okay, so that means there is a paraparesis, sensory level at the level, bladder could be LMN or UMN. If it is a hemichord, so anterolateral, there is this cross section, but the posterior column is at the same level, at the same, there is no cross section as such. So what happens is there would be at the level of the lesion, there would be a LMN involvement. Below the level, UMN on the same side. Contralateral pain and temperature would be lost. Ipsilateral posterior column is affected. Okay. Then central cord syndrome, intramedullary lesions we have already discussed. Dissociated sensory loss, suspended sensory loss, sacral sparing, early bladder involvement. Okay. Posterior lateral column, if it is involved, remember HIV, HTLV, vitamin E deficiency, syphilis, and B12 deficiency. Posterior column involvement, remember syphilis. If it is a peripheral nerve disease, it is the anesthesia which is more appreciated, and if it is a spinal cord disease, it is the analgesia which will be more appreciated. Okay. Below the level of the lesion, remember complete loss of sensation. Below the level of the lesion, it is the below UMN involvement below the level of the lesion, complete loss of sensation but exaggerated reflexes. Okay. And at the level, wasting of the muscles, reflexes are lost, but there will be a zone of hyperesthesia. Mostly a compressive myelopathy will give us a low level of a hyperesthesia. Okay. So yeah, so I think we have completed today's topic. So I am covering a small part only of a spinal cord so that it is better to understand. It is a huge topic, including a bladder, including a level. Okay, so we are, building up the brick by brick. Okay, we are building up the building. Yeah. So I think we will be continuing with the other part in the next video. Thank you for watching.